We have been chosen to witness its power over life and death in its most devious ways.
Oh, fuck. The Monkey is the newest horror flick to hit theaters. The movie is directed by Osgood Perkins, who gave us the horror film Lawn Legs last year. And while Lawn Legs wasn't my favorite horror movie of 2024, I still had a really good time with the creepy atmosphere throughout that film, and I loved the detective and serial killer cat and mouse game that took up the first half of the movie. And while the back half of the movie didn't work for me as much, again, that creepy atmosphere was throughout, and some of the supernatural elements worked for me as well. So when I found out that Osgood Perkins was directing The Monkey, which is based off a Stephen King short story, I got excited. So what is The Monkey all about? Well, this movie stars Theo James as a character named Bill and a character named Hal. They're twin brothers. They got the same actor to do both roles, and it works for the most part throughout this movie. In the beginning of the movie, you find out that Bill and Hal's father went missing a long time ago. The mom thinks that he walked out on them, and one day they're going through their dad's stuff when they find a toy monkey. And this toy monkey, when you wind it up and it starts beating the drum that is in front of it, well, it picks someone, whoever didn't turn the key, to kill, and that person dies a really nasty death, but it looks like an accidental death, so that the monkey can never be traced back. It could also never be traced back to the person that's turning the key. Of course, they don't realize this at first, and they kill a few people that are very close to them until eventually they realize it's the monkey that's causing all of this death in their lives. And so they take the monkey, they chain up the box that it's in, they throw it in a well and hope that that's the end of it, until 25 years later. Now, Bill and Hale have both grown up. They both separated from each other because they never really liked each other to begin with, and the story pretty much follows Hale for the duration of the film as he tries to reconnect with his teenage son, who he's really kept away from him because he never wants the monkey to target his teenage son in case it ever comes back. And of course, since this movie's called The Monkey comes back. It starts causing all kinds of death, all kinds of chaos, and so Bill and Hale have to try and work together to stop this monkey once and for all. Now, that's the best synopsis that I can give you for The Monkey. If that sounds like an interesting time at the theater, well, you should go check this out. It is playing in theaters now. Now we're going to get to my positives and my negatives here in a second, but if this is the first time you found my channel, well, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, maybe check out all the different content on my channel, whether you like movie reviews just like this, or you like Blu-ray talk, or movie ranked lists. I've got a little bit of everything on my channel, and I'd love for you to check all of that out. So let's get into my positives and my negatives for The Monkey. My first positive for this movie are the gory, nasty, Final Destination style kills. I've seen a few people online call them Final Destination style kills, so this isn't anything new from me. But what I'm getting at is that these kills look like accidents. And so you see some things happen that essentially you've seen happen in movies like the Final Destination series. For instance, at the beginning of the movie, you have a character that's trying to sell this monkey to someone at a pawn shop. Well, the monkey starts beating its drum, and all of a sudden something happens that trips a wire, that trips something, that knocks into something else, that shoots off an arrow that kills the person in the pawn shop. We've seen that in the trailers, so I'm not spoiling anything here. But the point I'm trying to make is that all of the kills in this movie look like just really nasty accidents. And so I liked that aspect of this movie a lot. To me, that was the best part of this film, watching these really nasty accidents and how they were going to unfold. There's a moment with an old lady that I won't get into too much detail about, but something happens to her and you're like, oh, that's how they killed her, but she's still alive. And then something even worse happens to her and you're like, oh, that's terrible, but she's still alive. And then she runs into something and it's over. So if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I think that might have been my favorite kill. But the point is, they were really detailed with the kills. There's also something that just, oh, it was gross and it involves horses. I'll leave it at that. But the point I'm making, I loved the gory kills in The Monkey. And my other big positive for this movie was the creepy look of that monkey. You know, it's just this toy monkey that's sometimes in the background of different scenes where you wouldn't expect to see it. And it's just creepy. It just sits there. When you wind its back, the first thing it does is it opens its lips really wide so you can see all of its teeth. And then the hands go up, it spins one of the drumsticks, and then it starts hitting that drum. And you're just like, okay, who's gonna die now? Because it can't be whoever whoever turned the key, so who is it going to be? And it seems to pick at random, but it also seems to pick people that you care about from time to time. So I really liked that this monkey kind of picked and chose what it did, and I also really liked how creepy it was. There's a scene toward the beginning of this movie where it's actually outside, and it's really creepy how it's revealed. So it's kind of weird saying that this toy monkey was the scariest part of this horror movie, but it truly was. Whenever you saw this monkey, you just felt uneasy. Love that they were able to build the monkey into the creepy atmosphere of this film. But that'll end it for my positives. We got to get into my negatives. We're going to start with something that's a bit of a gripe for me in just about every Stephen King adapted film. You have kids that bully other kids, and I can't stand that aspect of his movies. You can almost guarantee that if you watch a Stephen King adaptation, it's going to be kids that are bullying other kids. I don't know if Stephen King was bullied as a kid. I've never read up about his life. I don't know if he's ever talked about it. Maybe he was bullied, so that's why he puts it in there so much of the time. But again, in this film, you get a kid who's just being constantly bullied throughout the beginning portion of this movie, and it just makes me uneasy. Now, you could say that, hey, you know what? That's an aspect of a horror film. You'll want to feel uneasy, but it's not an uneasiness that I want to feel. And you can make the argument again that, okay, well, you're not supposed to feel completely comfortable in a horror movie, so making you uneasy with bullies works. I get that argument, but for me, it's a negative because I just can't stand that aspect of every Stephen King movie. Like, again, like clockwork, if you watch a Stephen King movie, you're going to watch bullying of some sort, especially when there's kids involved. And of course, in this movie, there's kids involved. And so you get that bullying aspect. And that aspect just doesn't work for me. I understand the pros to it. I already stated them. You can feel free to let me know again in the comment section if you want. But my point I'm trying to make here is that the bullying side of the Stephen King movies just seems way too over the top. And then we'll talk about one of the bullying moments real quick, just to kind of make my point here. There's a kid, a boy, who's walking into a boys' locker room, and it's filled with teenage girls. And the teenage girls are like, we're going to bully this kid into taking his pants off and making him walk home without pants on. And I was just kind of like, that's so out of left field. He's not getting bullied by other boys. Does that happen? Do gangs of girls go into the boys' locker room and just wait for them to walk into the locker room and force them to take their pants off? There's so many things that just don't make sense with that scene. I don't know if it was supposed to be like a girl empowerment moment. Like, yeah, girls can be bullies too. Not sure if that's the right empowering message to send. But again, the bullying aspect of Stephen King movies is always going to be in my negatives. But we'll get into more serious negatives that I have for the monkey, not just Stephen King tropes that annoy me. The first one is that the comedy aspect of this film, while I did laugh at different times, goes way too overboard, and it just annoyed me at a certain point. And don't get me wrong, there are people that is going to work for. There were people in my theater that were laughing the entire time. I saw people laughing and talking about it as they walked out of the theater, so maybe I'm in the minority when it comes to, I think that this movie had too much comedy in it. For instance, there's a few scenes that I did laugh out loud with, and it's nice to have those moments of levity in a horror film. If a horror film wants to play it completely serious and not have any moments of levity, I don't have a problem with that. But if a horror movie knows when to punch in some levity to the viewer so that you can sit back in your chair and be like, all right, I feel a little less worried about what's going on, I don't have a problem with that. And the majority of those moments happen at funerals in this film. There are a lot of funerals because a lot of people are dying, so those moments work for me. But there were other moments that felt just extremely cringy, and you guys know, if you've been watching my channel, at least through 2025 reviews, I don't like cringy comedy. That never works for me. I do not enjoy cringy comedy. And so you've got a moment in this movie where somebody is dead, and it's a really tragic scene, and you've got these cheerleaders out of nowhere outside of this house where it just happened, and they're cheering for the dead body as it's being rolled out. And you could say, oh, well, they were going for more of a comedic tone with this film. That's fine, but that's not what it presented itself as in the trailers, and that's not what the movie presents itself with throughout most of the film. It tries to play it real serious, but then it tries to throw in these moments of comedy to make the viewer laugh, and a lot of the time it just came off as cringy to me, and it didn't work. And that'll lead me to my other negative for this film, and along with that humor that didn't always work for me, I didn't like that the director decided to substitute some of this humor for giving you answers to what the monkey is, what really controls the monkey. And I try not to get into spoilers in my reviews, so this might be considered a bit of a spoiler. So if you've watched this far, thank you for watching. Hit the like button if you want wouldn't mind, come back after you've seen the movie, but here we go. But to get into a little bit of spoiler territory for this movie, they never give you real answers for what the monkey is. And that annoys me because you've got a pretty creepy atmosphere with this monkey. Like I said, it's creepy when you see it. You're not sure what's going on with it. It can sort of teleport around where you put it in one room and it's right in front of you in the next one. And it never tells you why. Now, I'm not looking for an Annabelle situation where it's attached to a demon and the demon is carrying it around. And every once in a while, you'll see the demon in the background. But I wanted something. I wanted it to be controlled by something, but it never gives you that. Instead of giving you any sort of answers, the movie leans on comedy. So it gives you this creepy premise. It says, here's this monkey. We're going to throw some cringy comedy at you throughout, and I hope the comedy is good enough for you because we're never going to give you answers for what is this monkey, what really controls this monkey, why it exists, why it basically curses you for life. It never gives you any of that and just left me feeling like it wasn't giving me any answers, like it wanted to be as vague as possible, maybe to create conversation, I'm not sure, but that conversation doesn't really work for me because the only conversation I'm going to have about this movie is, yeah, it was kind of creepy, but it didn't give me any substance. And to back that up a little bit further, and then I'll stop with my negatives, throughout this film, you have different characters talking about one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse coming in on a white horse, and the movie gives a little bit of that visual at the end of the movie. Some of the characters, I'll try to be spoiler free here, see a rider on a pale white horse who just sort of looks at them and then keeps going. And it doesn't really say why. And it just leaves me wondering, well, what was the point of this movie? Was the monkey bringing about the apocalypse? Is that why one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse shows up at the end of this thing? No idea, because those characters see him. He keeps going down the road he's on. They drive this way. And the movie cuts, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, what was the point of this? I understand not every movie has to have a point, but again, I just wanted a little bit more in the narrative of this film, and I wanted it to be a little cleaner, a little more polished, so that I could understand where they were trying to get me, the viewer, in this film. Because overall, in this horror comedy, I felt like the kills were good, but it never got scary. And I felt like the comedy was good, but it never got hilarious. And so the movie almost feels like it's towing the line between comedy, between horror, and it never fully commits to either one of those. And so overall, it just feels mediocre. So would I recommend The Monkey to you guys? Well, on the one hand, if you're looking for some nasty, gory kills in the style of Final Destination, then maybe go check this movie out in theaters. I think you'll enjoy it. Like I said, some people in my theater really enjoyed the comedy aspect, so if you're there for a horror comedy, again, go see it in theaters, you might enjoy it. But I would probably recommend you wait for this one on streaming, just because it just, again, left me feeling like the movie was kind of mediocre, and you never want that in a movie. But guys, those are just my opinions because that's my review for The Monkey. Have you had a chance to see this film yet? If you have, let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know where we agree or disagree. I feel like I'm going to be in the minority on most of my negatives for this one, so I'd love for you guys to tell me why you liked it and back those reasons up in the comment section. And finally, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Alright guys, we got to the end of my The Monkey review. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a fun time making it. Right over here, I've had the AMC popcorn bucket for The Monkey just sitting on my shelf. Did you notice it before this point? If you did, let me know when you noticed it throughout the video. And until the next video, if you want to check out any of the other content on my channel, well, I've got all of my horror movie reviews right there, and I've got all of my 2025 movie reviews right there.